What is going on today, guys? Well, first sentence, what is going on today, guys? A bunch of nerds fighting for their life here. And today I'm going to attempt to give you an unbiased opinion on Ableton 12, as well as why there are a decent amount of people upset about it. And I'm also going to try to give some suggestions on how to improve it. To disclose to you, I do have access to the beta, and I think that gives me the ability to talk about my experiences and features that were not explained very well. And hopefully Ableton might watch this and listen to me. Please, Ableton. Listen to me, and don't beat me with the hose again. I've seen a few people attempt to do this already, but they failed to provide actual specific solutions on how Ableton Live 12 could be better. Saying the FL could already do certain features is not productive. Recently, it feels like these DAW updates have started DAW Wars 3, and of course I'm ready to step into the middle of it and get my leg blown off. Again. First, I'm going to give you my attempt at a full list of features because I think that is very important if we're going to be criticizing. Otherwise, it may come off as biased and rushed. If I do miss anything though, it is not intentional. So this part might be a little boring, and I'm going to use the tried and true method of periodically making weird mouth noises. They've added a way to deal with alternate tunings, allowing you to work outside the 12-tone equal temperament system. And this works with anything MPE compatible in Live. They've added Roar, which is a multi-stage distortion. Not really the most impressive thing in the world to me, but I'm not mad at it. They've added Meld, which is a new synth. It's an MPE capable instrument, which again, I'm not mad at it, but when there's so many other features that could be added, I don't really understand why they added this. One of my favorite features is that they added a way to find similar sounds within the browser, and you can also do it with the drum rack, and you can also lock specific sounds in the drum rack and randomize while finding specific similar sounding sounds. They've added a global key / scale, but my favorite thing that they did was this. Ableton, can I get that $200 update for free because I got you tattooed on me for life? No. They added Granulator 3. They've added MIDI generation options, which it does in key. They've added the option to see the mixer in arrangement mode, which a lot of people have been praising. Personally, I don't think it's that big of a deal, but you know, teach their own. They've added reshape MIDI options, which includes adding ornaments and articulations, draw acceleration, deceleration curves, connecting successive notes, simulating the strum of a guitar, and more. They've added some features to help keep you in key while doing generations or just writing anything. They've expanded the probability. They've added a few new packs. They've added new modulation, behavior, and control, browser tagging, and filtered searches, which is another thing people have been asking for quite some time. They claim they've added a cleaner and more minimal look, which I did not find to be more minimal, at least on first glance, but you can change how it works, obviously. They've added accessibility features for technologies such as screen readers, so basically it can read to you what is happening.
Delete your project, clown.
They've added new themes. They've added browser history, so people can go back and see you using the Spins 808 or the Young Chop snare or whatever embarrassing thing you're currently using. They've added stacked detail views, as well as making Max for Live more powerful. First off, they've definitely added a lot more than just the piano roll features of FL. I know that's something a lot of people have been saying. Like I said, not trying to defend them here, but I feel like if you just list the MIDI generation stuff and the MIDI transformation stuff and scale stuff, it sounds like that's all there is, but clearly, there's a bit more than that there, right? I think while comparing DAWs, you have to bring up other things, such as what I said earlier, you know, the whole live performance aspect of Ableton Live. For those of you that don't know, with the session view in Ableton Live, you can actually put as many clips as you want virtually, and it runs off the hard drive, so you can basically make like over 10-hour plus sets. And for me personally, this is the reason why I started using Ableton Live to begin with. It just seemed really cool to be able to do a live performance digitally. Now, if you want to say FL Studio is much cheaper, that is a very valid argument to make. And I personally don't think it's feasible for every DAW or plugin software to just have free updates. Part of the reason why FL Studio is able to do this is because they are the biggest beatmaker software. But I will say I am 99% sure that they implemented the paid sounds on FL Cloud in order to increase their revenue. Probably not making a lot off of updates. Now, this criticism I think is pretty valid. They should definitely be adding more in between paid updates. There are several different reasons to say this. The first being that you're not really getting much in between paid updates. But the real reason I believe this is because in this update, they changed kind of a lot. When you go into it the first time, you may actually be a little bit overwhelmed with the amount of changes between the search and tagging, as well as the new MIDI options, as well as the new window configurations you can work with. So I personally do wish they parsed this this out a bit more. But it does seem like they've had a lot going on between releasing the Push 3 as well as the Push 3 not having the NUCs anymore because of Intel. But then anyways, that's a whole nother story for another day. But it is possible also they just wanted to save it all for this paid update, so it seemed like they're giving you more. Please, Ableton, I don't like the cage. Now, here are the real reasons that people are upset with the Ableton Live 12 update. Not all people, but a moderate amount of people. So I actually stumbled upon this Reddit post. It really was illuminating to me because I was aware of quite a few of these issues, but I was not looking through the feature suggestions. So this post on Reddit was made by Smoking Fromage. So he states here that this reaction has been very polar. Some people love it, some people hate it. And he talks about the feedback portal on Center Code, which is basically where you can send them suggestions that they can add in future updates. But basically, a lot of these suggestions have been up there for quite some time, years even. The first one, bounce in place. Personally, for me, this isn't a big one. They've added freeze and flatten, which is very similar. Essentially, you can duplicate a track and then freeze and flatten it. Basically, it's sort of like bounce in place. Freeze groups, which I think is a really good suggestion. I've actually wished they had this one for quite some time. ARA integration. This is a fair one to ask for, obviously. It's really useful and another reason to go for mixing in other DAWs. Hide and disable unused tracks for CPU improvement, and that's not really a big deal to me, but I can see why people would want it. Then also a shortcut for clip gain, better browser organization, which they sort of did, but I feel like the whole tagging system has actually made it not as organized. It's a little more overwhelming. It's piano roll wasted space. Morphing through macro variations could be a little bit hard to implement, but I get what they're going for here. Showing take lanes and adding take lane buttons, they added that. Improve piano roll, they added that. Increased number of collections. Now, for some reason, you can only have 7 collections. Not sure why they picked that number. I don't know what's up with that. Then change order of macros in the rack. Plugin sandboxing. Now, this is one thing I really wish they would have added, or that they just add in the future. I mean, it's one of the reasons why people are foaming at the mouth over Bitwig. When a plugin crashes, it's not going to crash your whole DAW. It just crashes the plugin. It'll basically have a lot less crashes happening in Ableton. Pitch bin MIDI bug resetting to 0. They fixed that. Assigning fade to multiple clips. Not really something I'm super interested in, but I can see why people want it. Custom key commands. Now, this is one I would be really hyped about. It's one thing I love about Adobe Premiere, just to be able to completely customize every single thing within Ableton. Because currently you can only customize whatever is in the workspace, I think would be an accurate way to describe it. Then CPU meters for tracks and arrangement view. This one was actually technically added since they added the ability to work with the mixer in arrangement view. You can show the CPU meters while doing so. Then update installed notification. I can't believe that wasn't a thing before, but they fixed that. Capture automations. When you're playing something and you're not recording, it'll capture the MIDI. So what they're talking about here, I'm pretty sure, is having it automatically capture automation too. And then mapping VST parameters to an FX rack. Here are some of my own suggestions to add to this list. I'm sure they're not completely original. Putting ASD files inside the project folder. So currently it just puts them wherever you have the WAV file or MP3 file or whatever you're adding. It's your fault my desktop looks like this, Ableton. I'm just kidding. My desktop will look like this anyways. Now I'm guessing part of the reason why they haven't implemented this is because before you save your project, it'll just have to save it wherever the file is currently. Grooves for arpeggiator, that'd be an amazing one to add, as well as a better control for velocity. Ableton native pitch correction, such as Autotune or Melodyne, or whatever equivalent we would have for our DAW. I hope they implement this at some point because Melodyne, it's pretty expensive. Plugin delay compensation. There's a weird issue in Live where if you have a bunch of plugins that add latency and then you put something that is synced to the grid, such as LFO tool or a delay, it'll mess with the delay a little bit, throwing it off. Bitwig does not have this issue though, from what I've heard. Obviously, there's way more suggestions than this on this website. What do you guys think is missing from Ableton Live 12? If you really care about us, Ableton, you're going to implement some of these. Please do it before release. It would probably win back a lot of goodwill from the community though. If you enjoyed this video, press the like button. If I get over 1,000 likes, Ableton said they will feed me more than once a day. Please, I'm starving. I'll see you guys next time.
Bang Incorporated.